Welcome, in front of me is a Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro, and today I'll show you a couple tweaks and tricks you can do on this device. So starting off, we're going to begin with the dark mode, which is quickly accessible through the notification panel. If you extend it, you should see the dark mode toggle right over here. Tap on it and there we go, everything turns into dark mode. So this will include things like your default applications being now in dark mode, settings, there we go, there's settings as you can see. So basically everything is now going to be darker. So apart from it looking a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to some people, it has no additional functionality. Now if you hold the toggle, you can also go to the settings where you have the ability to check it as a schedule. So it will turn on and off automatically, and this is probably the best way you can go about it, at least in my opinion, because during the day dark mode doesn't really have that much of an effect, at least not a good one. During the daytime when sun is out, it's a little bit harder to see the device screen when everything is darker on it. So light mode is probably more suitable for that time, but during night I personally don't like to get my irises blown out by pure white light. So with that in mind, on a schedule it will turn it on at 7 p.m. Into dark mode, so I won't have to worry about it. It will then be in dark mode, so everything will look a little bit less harsh on the eyes. So that's kind of why I like the schedule more than just a typical toggle it on or off. Now moving on to the next one, it's going to be the 144 Hz display, and I believe by default it comes disabled, which I'm not really sure why, but to get started all you need to do is go into the settings, from there to the display, and you should see the refresh rate right over here. And it looks like we actually have several options here. So we have the 144, 90 and 60, and this is probably the best way I have seen that is displayed how the higher refresh rate works. So you can clearly see a distinctive difference between those images, how the image actually looks and moves on it. So the ball here looks like it's skipping a little, like it's a quick slideshow, while here is just buttery smooth, right? 90 Hz is basically a middle ground between those, but in reality 60 Hz is what you're used to by default. Almost every phone that you most likely used in the past, and your computer screen along with at work most likely uses 60 Hz. So that is something that you're most likely accustomed to, and to you it looks normal. Now when you go to 90 Hz, it will look way smoother than the 60, and you can see that, well, by just changing it, but anything above like 100 I would say is not that noticeable. So if you're not really used to seeing high refresh rates, things like 90 and 140 will not have such a drastic difference to you as they do have a difference on here. If you, for instance, cover it, this looks like it's skipping little parts of the animation, while this is just smooth. In reality it won't be like that. It's just a exaggerated visual representation of how it affects it basically. So finishing this the hard refresh rate subject, 144 will be the smoothest, but it will also consume the most amount of battery. So and that smoothness doesn't come for free. So if you want to save your battery, probably 60 would be better, or you can go for 90 to have basically the best of both worlds, a little bit better refresh rate and more smoother image, while still not consuming such a drastic amount of battery. Drastic, I'm saying drastic, it's not really that of a drastic, but you will still lose about an hour or 2 hours of your battery from like the entirety of whatever normally your battery would last. So going on to the next one, it's going to be the color schematic. So again, it's under the display, it's going to be color scheme right here, and by default it's on auto recommended, but you can tap on different ones right here for the standard, original color, or advanced settings, which from here you can choose a couple additional ones. So I believe this one will be probably the best looking one, at least in terms of color accuracy, assuming it is really sRGB calibrated. but you can basically tap on each one of them and see a difference, for instance in the pencils right here, how the colors differ with each one. So you can clearly see that they shift overall. The white background, for instance, in the original color shifts from white to more like a yellowish, which I think this one probably might be the most aesthetically pleasing, at least to me. It removes some of that blue lighting and resembles a little bit something like an iPhone's True Tone display. So if that's something that you're looking for, probably this one would be the best for you. But if you're looking, I believe, for a most accurate one, it's probably gonna be in here with the this option. But I might be wrong. It might not be well calibrated, so keep that in mind. So moving on to the next one, it's going to be the gesture navigation, and by default again the phone comes with the outdated buttons at the bottom. So to get rid of it and substitute them for something a little bit better and up to date, we can go into the settings and scroll down to the advanced settings, and then choose full screen display, where you will have the option to change it to the gesture. Now when you're doing it for the first time, it will pop up with the learn gesture thing, so we can tap on learn and again learn. So swipe from bottom quickly. So this is the home and home gesture, then swipe up and hold. This will be the recent, that will open up recent button applications. Then swipe from the side, obviously the back, and again from the other side the same thing. Cool, so we're done, and as you can see there is this little bar at the bottom, and you can simply swipe it. It removes the buttons. It does shift the display a tiny bit lower, so your icons don't need to accommodate the buttons that were previously there. And also I'll mention one thing. I've seen people have problem with using the gesture navigation, especially if they're not used to it, at least the home gesture. So for those that have the problem with it, when you're using gesture navigation and you have an application open, some people try to swipe it from the display itself. Now this won't always work, assuming you don't swipe it, as you can see, from low enough. Basically the best way to go about it is swipe from below the screen. So if I hold it like right here, I'm barely or maybe not even touching the display. I swipe up and it will then work, no problem. So you can see from off the screen it will always work. So that is just like a little tip to the gesture navigation if you're struggling with it. But in general, this is, in my opinion, a way better way of navigating the device, especially when you are in an app. You don't need to tap on the home at the bottom or the back, which is like usually in a corner, right corner, which in my opinion isn't necessarily the best place for it. But you can just swipe from the side like so. So you can see it pops up an arrow, let go, and it goes back, and it is, in my opinion, such a better way of going about navigating to your device rather than the buttons at the bottom. But let's go to the next one, which is going to be the notification light. Now unfortunately I won't be able to show off any kind of notification light. I'm just going to mention it. I don't have notifications right now, so it won't be lighting up. But assuming, for instance, you don't like notification light because it's blinking when you get a notification, you can disable it by going into the settings, again into the additional settings right here, and to notification light, and you have two different ones. So light up when charging and blink light, which is for notifications. And if you don't like that, you can disable it. If you also don't like the charging LED notifications that your device is charging, you can also disable that. So completely up to you. And the last thing that I wanted to show, it's gonna be the split screen slash floating windows. So in here they added this floating windows, which is nice, but I would say a little bit limited. Hopefully they will improve on the usability of it further, I would say. As an example, imagine Samsung's floating windows, but just a little bit less good, and that's kind of how I would describe it. So let me first actually show you. So if you go to recent, you will have the floating windows right here. You can tap on it and it will show you a bunch of applications that can be opened in floating windows. So just tap on one, there it is. So as you can see, Google, Chrome. So from here you can use it as you would normally do. As you can see, I can interact with it, no problem. I can also from here grab it from the bottom to extend it to full screen. I can also close it off like so, or what I can do, apart from moving it around by tapping on the top, I can also drag it to the corner and it will then get minimized like so. Now, the first thing that came to my mind, which is split screen, which when I think about things like this, is using YouTube for it, right? That's probably the best functionality in my opinion for it. So you open up YouTube, minimize it to such a tiny window that it doesn't actually annoy you, and you listen to music like probably majority of us without actually paying the subscription. But if we open up YouTube and try to, as we can do it right here, and quickly deal with this, so close it, let's go to recent. There we go. So in here, when you hold the window itself, you have the this pop-up window view as an option, right? Again, it's right here along with the split screen next to it. But if we go to YouTube, magically that option isn't available. And let me also make sure that it's not because of this. So yeah, as you can see, even though there's no window open, this is not an option, so I cannot use it the way I would really want to. Kind of annoying. But that being said, you can still open it up in pop-up view and then open up other application. And even if you go home, it kind of minimizes. It still takes way more space than I would like it to. But in this kind of mode, it still will not pause whatever it's playing on it. It will still continue to play, and you can do other stuff. You can resize it to take less space when it's split screening, and you can do other stuff while listening to music or looking at videos, whatever it is. But the moment you lock the device, it will pause the video. Unfortunate, but that is kind of how it works. If you don't want it to pause video, you can always try to download it third-party applications, and there are some that basically work as a YouTube for music where you can lock it, but this unfortunately is not the way. And furthermore, the option that I would like to use with it for the little pop-up and make it just almost go out of the way is also not accessible for YouTube. But any kind of other app usually works fine, apart from, at least in split screen, apart from things like camera. Camera usually wants a full screen, and it will not take anything else. So as you can see, it closes split screen and just goes to full window. So yeah, but that being said, this will conclude all the tweaks and tricks that I wanted to share. And if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.